midterm campaign, I said it was up to the citizens of Pennsylvania, and of course it still is. But I will tell you all this, if I lived in Pennsylvania, I would have already cast my vote for John Fetterman for many reasons. And that is not the only race that matters. If I was in North Carolina, as you mentioned, Sister Beasley there. And if I was in Florida, I'd be supporting Val Demings. If I was in Wisconsin, it would be Mandela Barnes. In Nevada, it would be Catherine Cortez Masto. And in Texas, Beto O'Rourke and Raphael Warnock and the incredible Stacey Abrams, of course, in Georgia. So there are clear choices out there and some dynamic candidates who are working to represent the values. This is what we're talking about. The values that we hold dear, the values of inclusion, the values of compassion and community that so many of us share. So use your discernment, which seems to be missing in a lot of our country today. Use your discernment.
Not a second too soon, Oprah Winfrey's come out with an endorsement for John Fetterman among a raft of other Democratic candidates. Now here's why that's especially significant. Oprah effectively made Dr. Oz's career. He appeared on Oprah's talk show more than 60 times, leading to his spin-off show, The Dr. Oz Show, which was co-produced by Oprah's company, Harpo Productions. All of which is to say, if anyone knows Dr. Oz well enough to give him the benefit of the doubt, it's Oprah. So for her to then make the voluntary decision not just to stay neutral here, but to actually endorse his opponent, John Fetterman, really does speak volumes. I should note too that at the heart of Oz's campaign are his promises to criminalize abortion. He said this during his debate with John Fetterman.
There should not be involvement from the federal government in how states decide their abortion decisions. As a physician, I've been in the room when there's some difficult conversations happening. I don't want the federal government involved with that at all. I want women, doctors, local political leaders, letting the democracy that's always allowed our nation to thrive, to put the best ideas forward so states can decide for themselves.
Right, he doesn't want federal government officials to get between a woman and her doctor. He wants state and local government officials to get between a woman and her doctor. Do you feel reassured yet? What's especially disappointing about all of this is that of all people, Oz should know better than anyone what's at risk by banning reproductive care at some arbitrary date. The fact is, according to the CDC, that almost 99% of abortions occur before 21 weeks. Republicans love to frame this as liberals just nonchalantly aborting babies at the day of their delivery as casually as they choose their Starbucks latte. But that's not what's happening. Virtually all abortions are happening before 21 weeks. And so think about why those last 1% of women are getting abortions after 21 weeks. The reasons range from women not knowing they were pregnant, to fetal anomalies, to health risks to the mother. And so barring abortion after an arbitrary date isn't going to stop the kinds of hysterical reasons that Republicans fearmonger about, like infanticide. It's simply going to impact the 1% of women who are already dealing with some major trauma. Again, 99% of abortions are happening early anyway. The only post-21 week abortions are the result of some major difficulty. That's who's being impacted. That's who Oz would be making life more difficult for. The women who are suffering due to some unforeseen complication. The women who are already going through immeasurable pain. People like Oz will be finding the single most vulnerable, desperate, heartbroken women there are and imposing an unnecessary burden onto them for solely political reasons. And let's be clear, Oz knows that. But he's saying whatever he needs to say to pander to the base to win an election. And by the way, Oz understands that he's in the minority here. 70% of Americans support Roe. That's a majority of both Democrats and Republicans. We just watched 5 special elections swing an average of 9.5 points to the left thanks to the Dobbs decision. And even deep red Kansas voted against an abortion ban. Let's not pretend that these people are in any way anything other than extremists. And Oz is proud to be one of them. And let me say one more thing. I recognize that your political affiliation might be part of your identity. I understand that if you're a Republican or an independent and have voted that way your whole life, you might bristle at the notion of voting for a Democrat. But please recognize that it's not an affront to your identity to vote for a Democrat, knowing full well that the issue of bodily autonomy is on the line in this election. This goes beyond party, beyond tribalism, beyond red team and blue team. It's about personal freedom. And if Republicans are validated at the ballot box running on stripping Americans of these freedoms, they won't stop there. And same-sex marriage will follow, contraception will follow, eliminating Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security will follow. This is our chance to deliver a message to Republicans that eliminating our rights won't be tolerated, regardless of the voter's political party. And finally, if you want more of a deep dive into who Dr. Oz is, here's a clip from the viral collaboration I did with More Perfect Union.
A doctor shouldn't sell products. You wouldn't trust me if you came to me for advice and I said, take my version of a solving cream here. It just doesn't sound and feel right to me.
I'll show you one that I like a lot. Our trusted sponsorship partner, USANA Health Sciences, makes a product called Hepisil. In addition to the magnesium with 20% off, what else can you find on the iHerb website?
Over 30,000 health and wellness products.
A magic weight loss cure for every body type.
You buy it online.
Probiotics, available in your local Walmart or on walmart.com.
Pennsylvania Senate candidate Dr. Mehmet Oz built an incredibly lucrative career out of the trust in himself he cultivated with the American people. After all, he is
America's doctor, the one and only Dr. Oz.
Did I say incredibly lucrative career? I meant utterly, obscenely lucrative. A mandatory financial disclosure form showed Oz and his wife own at least $100 million in assets.
I'm excited to be featured on the cover of the newest issue of Success magazine. I don't know if you know, but if you ever go on safari, the elephants, that's $20 for crudité, and this doesn't include the tequila. And we got Joe Biden to thank for this.
And now, like that other rich TV pitchman, he wants to go to Washington.
I endorsed another person today, Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. You know, when you're in television for 18 years, that's like a poll. That means people like you.
I worked with the team at the Classroom from More Perfect Union, a nonprofit newsroom amplifying the working class perspective, for a deep dive into what a Senate seat for Oz would mean for the real working people of Pennsylvania, who Oz claims to understand.
I'm a son of an immigrant. I believe in the American dream because I lived it myself.
But how much does he really get it? The average yearly income in Pennsylvania is $35,000. Dr. Oz made nearly 4 times that doing one speech for the Pistachio Growers Association.
One of the elegant aspects of pistachios in particular is that you can eat quite a few. You can pluck them, plop them, plop them.
We dug through pages and pages of campaign finance documents, corporate filings, policy statements, news archives, internal corporate documents, and way too many hours of the Dr. Oz show. There's a pattern there. America's doctor enriching himself by selling out working people and their trust in him to the highest bidder. Now he's hoping his deceptive marketing practices are good enough to dupe working Pennsylvanians into sending him to Washington. And that has far-reaching ramifications for the American worker. So let's dig in. This is Brian Tyler Cohen meets The Classroom by More Perfect Union. Oz built a lot of trust early in his career, a hotshot Ivy League doctor performing high-profile surgeries at one of the most respected hospitals in the country. Then one of the most liked people in America put him on TV and deemed him America's doctor. People really trusted him. Oz told The New Yorker in 2013, "The currency that I deal in is trust, and it is trust that has been given to me by Oprah and by Columbia University and by an audience that has watched over 600 shows." His show created the Oz effect. That's when Oz recommends an ingredient, food, or cure, and sales noticeably go up.
Sea buckthorn. It is the new miracle berry. The diet aid is sage leaf tea.
But there was a problem with the claims. They weren't really scientific. Several manufacturers of a product Oz had recommended, green coffee bean extract, were charged by the Federal Trade Commission for false claims, including quoting Dr. Oz or using clips of his show. Now, Oz said that these companies were using his image without his permission and tried to play the victim himself, even though he had one of these guys whose company was sued by the FTC on his show.
For anyone who wants to lose weight.
I usually don't recommend weight loss supplements.
Could it be the magic bullet?
It's amazing. 0 side effect.
It led to Oz testifying on the Senate floor in 2014. During his testimony, Oz eventually admitted,
The items that I talk about in the show, I passionately study them. I recognize that oftentimes they don't have the scientific muster to present as fact.
To watch the full video about Dr. Oz's shady past, click the video thumbnail coming up on the very next screen. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.